Welcome to Jurassic World.
Guests, welcome to the Jurassic World Minute for Visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. Remember, the Tyrannosaurus Rex feeding show is not appropriate for small children. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're here to discuss Minute 9 of Jurassic World. But before we get to that, David, going over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, we have two articles here up for two actors we get in this minute. One for the minute before, we get an article here on Claire Dearing. Bit of the backstory here. A lot of this, I'd imagine, would have come from the Evolution of Claire novel.
Yeah, it did. A lot of that one was like really, really helpful in filling in a lot of backstory that we had for this character that we otherwise really wouldn't have a lot from. I think that it was from Jurassic World Alive or something like that, where we got like some of Owen's backstory, where he worked with dolphins in the Navy to plant mines or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
But yeah. We didn't really have as much as that for Claire with the opening of Jurassic World. And so I think that book was a lot more helpful in filling in her backstory to go along with Owen's. Yeah. I never actually picked up that book. I'm not sure if I will, but because I read the synopsis online. And it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't seem that interesting to me. But yeah, I do know people who picked it up and people who've enjoyed it. So... yeah. Go ahead, pick it up.
Yeah, I haven't read it either. I've just sort of heard some of the good bits, I'll say. I'm also, like, I know a lot of it takes place sort of college years and sort of during the internship with InGen and that sort of stuff, or Masrani. Apparently, I've heard there's some sort of lead-in stuff there to Fallen Kingdom with Eli Mills and that, knowing each other at college or something as well, so... it is good. It is adding a lot of that backstory to her character. Although, because it was written between Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, I think there's a bit of retconning in there too with her stuff of not sort of why she doesn't seem so caring of animals here, and then goes from naturalist to capitalist in just 4 years. So, I think I've heard or learnt all the important stuff I need to from it without reading the whole thing, but
reread the SparkNotes version.
Yeah.
I guess you don't really get the same feel, but yeah.
And it was exactly the same thing too. Reading some of the Survivor Series books and that come out for Jurassic Park 3, and that there's sort of little tidbits in them that you could sort of take on and learn, but a lot of it's just really fluff that they've created to fluff out to build the character a bit more behind the scenes. So, yeah, big article over there at Jurassic-Pedia.com. Also, while you're over there, there's a big article here too done by Terry on the Dr. Henry Wu returning from 1993 now in Jurassic World 2015.
Yeah, this was one of our already present articles that we had on the site prior to the arrival of Jurassic World, just because he's not really a key character in the first movie, but his character's kind of what his character is makes him an important part of the movies, more so his character is explored in the novel than it is in the first movie, which is unfortunate. But yeah, this was an article that we had long already had, and then of course Jurassic World expanded that out for us.
Yeah, well, that's it. What we see of him in Jurassic Park, again, as you said, a lot of the backstory of him would have been in that novel. And then getting a little bit more into his character in Jurassic Park, the game, and him going up against Laura Sorkin and that. Then once the DPG come along, we learnt of... it wasn't as late as DPG. Was the Jurassic World site had a bio? I think the Masrani site had a bio on it, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the Masrani site that had the bio on him and had basically the backdoor timeline that you could access and find out all this information about various things. I don't know if the Masrani site or the backdoor is still up. I think it actually did go. I think it was taken down eventually, but thankfully we've saved all of that information here on Jurassicpedia.
Yep. And you can read through, like, again, going all the way back to his upbringing, his work he done at Jurassic Park, Sauna, going back to Isla Nublar in '94 to document what had survived and all that sort of stuff as well. That book he wrote afterwards, which you've done a Claire book, please. Again, I think every fan's been crying out for that Henry Wu book as well. All the way up to, his return here and Fallen Kingdom, and we'll see what future holds for him in Dominion.
Mm-hmm. I do know he is confirmed to return, hopefully at a higher, hopefully at a larger role than in the last movie. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to his novel death, honestly.
Yeah, especially after Fallen Kingdom. Like, at least he's got some good dialogue, especially when we get up him and Masrani going back and forth, and some of that stuff's fantastic. And then getting sort of whisked away by InGen in the helicopters. Well, we suppose it's InGen. I think we can only guess it. Or I don't know if it's been confirmed if he's actually going from there to Mills's mansion, Lockwood Estate, or if that's something that happens later. But just to sit in the bottom of the basement lab and tell them that we need blue so we can finish the Indoraptor, it's sort of not the best.
We do kind of need an in-between quill on that one, even if it's just like a short comic book or something, you know?
Yeah. It probably won't happen though, unfortunately. But yeah, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and read all about Dr. Henry Wu.
Zach, you're not going off to war here. Please, come on.
Dave, ready to get into minute 9?
Oh yeah.
As we entered minute 8 of Jurassic World, one of the investors said that they wanted to be thrilled in the new investment. Claire smiles and says, "Don't we all?" As we open on minute 9, she spins a virtual display on the wall and says, "The Indominus Rex, our first genetically modified hybrid." One of the investors asks, "How do you get two dinosaurs to, Enter BD Wong as Henry Wu, saying, "Oh, she wasn't bred, she was designed. She'll be 50 feet when fully grown, bigger than the T-Rex." At the 20-second mark, Claire walks forward and says, "Every time we've opened a new attraction, attendance has spiked. Global news coverage, celebrity visitors, eyes of the world." At the 30-second mark, another investor asks, "When will she be ready?" Henry smiles and says she already is. At the 37-second mark, we once again cut to an aerial flyover Main Street, still crowded with guests, as we head straight towards the Samsung Innovation Centre. At the 52-second mark, we can hear Gray yelling back to his brother Zach, "Come on, come on," excited to go into the building. But Zach just tells him to slow down and to relax. And as the minute ends, the two boys push open the massive wooden doors of the Innovation Centre and look inside.
As we continued last minute, Claire had asked the business people what they have in mind for sponsoring an attraction, and she turns to a screen behind her and virtually spins a DNA strand, which obviously touchscreen monitor, I'm guessing, or she just timed that really well. And,
I think it's touchscreen.
Yeah, turns back to the VIPs and says, "Indominus Rex, our first genetically modified hybrid." It might be more genetically modified than what we've seen before. We were talking before about the Dilophosaur and that, and when we get to what we get with the Pteranodons, Dimorphodons, we probably shouldn't bring up the stegosaurs now, but what we get with them later, and even with what Wu's doing in his little secret lab there to research and that, I think this is just spin for the VIPs to say, well, this is the first, and you're witnessing it for the first time, or going to sponsor it for the first time.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this was probably... I mean, did they give a price tag for this later in the movie? I can't remember. But either way, it's a insanely expensive animal, and they want to get basically as many corporate sponsors as they can at this point, you know?
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, you keep on going. I was going to bring the price up, but I'll do it when you finished.
Oh, no, I was going to say that... and the other thing is that they're also planning on building an entire kind of stadium around the paddock they currently have her in. So they'll need money for that. So they're going to go for Tostitos and Pepsi-Saurus and basically everybody they can get their hands on to help reduce the cost of this creation of this animal.
Mm. Well, it's a one I know. And we're going to get to it when we get to Larry and what you sort of spill there, but the fact when they were doing this, they researched, they went to Disney, they went to major theme parks and that. Only just recently watching the Imagineers or whatever it was for the behind the scenes for Disney there, where they sort of took profits from what they had and more so getting money from the bank to expand new attractions, refurbishing and that sort of stuff, where here it seems they're trying to go full sponsorship to pay for a lot of it and not the park admission and all that sort of funding coming in. But I suppose even, and again, it's something we don't really get as much in the films as what we got in the novels, Toyota sponsoring Land Cruisers for the original park, all that sort of stuff, where we don't sort of get that here. And surely Mercedes-Benz are sponsoring in film as well as in real life here, with the amount of Mercedes in the fleet as well, but something else we can get to later.
Well, I do remember that Mercedes had partnered with Universal for this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think that I'm sort of listening to the Jurassic Vic at the moment. He does a lot of the stuff on the motor pool, and just I think there was an agreement with Mercedes that you can have the cars, but nothing's allowed to be destroyed or something. Which is a shame.
Oh, we had so much fun destroying Mercedes last time.
When we started to see production photos of the G-Wagon and the 6x6 that they made, like that thing could just go head to head with a T-Rex. And I was wanting to see something like that so much in the film. But
Though I do have to give Mercedes credit. Every time I see a silver G-Wagon or one of their silver vans on the road, I do automatically think of Jurassic World.
Yep.
So it's kind of weird how, I mean, I don't even do that with Jeep, but I see a silver Mercedes and I'm like, Jurassic World right there.
We'll even get to it later on when we see ACU deploy, even with some of the very Lost World feeling vans, the big transit vans and that as well, with the bars on the windows and that. But one of the investors sits here and sort of puts his hands together and asks, how do you get two dinosaurs to ... and sort of which I suppose would be a question, but genetically modified hybrid doesn't really suggest that they've been bred.
No.
Well, and then of course enter Henry Wu here, BD Wong back, sort of answering the question. Indominus wasn't bred; she was designed, and she'll be 50 feet long when fully grown, bigger than the T-Rex.
Which I think is kind of funny because it kind of makes it seem like this guy's line was just an excuse to introduce Wu into the scene, you know? It's like, so how did you get it, you know? He's like, and enter Wu, you know?
But it's sort of, it almost goes back to that little bit of, not snark, but sort of like in the original film where he's going at Malcolm as well. And now I've completely blanked on the line. Bigger than the T-Rex, which I think would be a big sort of keyword here to get the investors on even more. And sort of Claire jumps in to sweeten the deal. Every time we've unveiled a new asset, attendance has spiked. Global news coverage, celebrity visits, eyes of the world.
Well, it's funny that he uses T-Rex as a measurement here because, like, every time there's a news article about a new dinosaur anywhere, it's like T-Rex is used either as a measuring stick or as a point of reference for time. And it's like, have you ever seen the meme of the guy looking up at the butterfly and saying, "Is this a pigeon?" Well, imagine looking up at a T-Rex and saying, "Is this a unit of measurement?" So, yes, T-Rex is apparently a unit of measurement at Jurassic World.
Yep. Well, I wonder, too, how much knowledge park operation that the VIPs would have if they know anything about the marketing that's been happening, or if, again, the majority of the public know the T-Rex because of the San Diego incident. But still,
the T-Rex is also already one of the most famous, if not the most famous dinosaur in the world. So
yeah,
you basically say T-Rex and everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. The investor that wanted to be thrilled asks when will she be ready, and Henry smiles and looks at Claire, and it seemed like he's more pleased to film in than what Claire would be, but tells him that she already is, and that's when we get that Jurassic World score pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Which already ready. I don't think we learn how far along she is. Do we get an age?
Of the Indominus?
Yeah.
Couple years, I think. I don't think it took them that long. I think that it's set in the Masrani thing where they say they give a point of time for how long they had made her.
Yeah.
And I think it was only a couple of years that it took her to grow to full size.
Well, Wu's line
I
saying
say 3 or 4 or something. What's that?
Yeah, Wu's line here saying she'll be 50 feet long when fully grown tells me that she's not fully grown yet.
No, she's not. And later we find out that they already had to push back the size because they had to build the walls on the containment bigger because she's already bigger than she's supposed to be at this point of time.
Yeah. I have to have a look towards the end of the film when they're fighting because I'm pretty sure there'd be a shot there with them looking eye to eye just to see the size. But going off the price you mentioned before, when she escapes later, Masrani does say it's a $28 million animal there, or investment, so whether that's just how much is into it already or how much that's coming from investors, we don't really know. But yeah, if they kill the animal, that's 28 million gone, which you'll get that back. Follow Owen's advice. Sort of interesting too, where the whole time this conversation's been happening here, there's been sort of a very interesting music theme playing in the background, very sort of ominous and Jaws-like, just those slow building beats in the background. But then once again, we cut to Main Street, full of guests. As we sort of fly in over here, do an aerial. Well, I don't mean aerial shot. I'm guessing they had cameras hanging from cables to do these shots, because we get a fair few of them in the film.
I do think it's interesting though how we get this. Claire saying nobody's interested in a dinosaur anymore, and she's like, well, 20 years ago it was right up there with the extinction. Now it's like kids don't even care anymore. And I kind of find that kind of I'm not sure if it's deliberate, but it's kind of poking at the CGI usage in Jurassic World, because the next shot we get after that scene where she says that is these giant CGI mountains towering over everything, and it's like, meh, 20 years ago CGI was right up there with magic. Now your kid looks at it, it's like, meh.
Well, I'll jump in here just to defend. The backing plates are real, the mountains are real, but the building structures, all they've been put in front of it, all the structures are CG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, I mean, they filmed this whole thing on a parking lot in Louisiana. So yes, they are real, but they're digitally placed into the movie, so they can basically be any size the animator wants them to be.
Yeah, yep. Well, that's it. We cut to Main Street here, and it's full of guests, and I'm guessing I think they had a wire system hooked up with a camera on it that could fly, sort of flying fox or zip line style above Main Street. I seem to remember seeing shots of that, something like that, because you're not flying a helicopter. It's 2015, so I don't think we're quite there with drone filming for movies yet. We're not far off it, but the other unfortunate thing here too, with this flyby, we get a lot of these just flying over Main Street, where it's going to take up the rest of this minute pretty much, where we could have some more stuff in and just not do flybys of Main Street. But especially, we've already had one when the boys got to the hotel room. We flew out over the whole area, and now we're doing it again just to catch up with where Zach and Gray and Zara are. But a lot of people in the street. It sort of looks like Jimmy Buffett's one of the blokes dancing up on the top of one of the restaurants as well. In that, in that shirt, we passed the Spinosaurus skeleton, which we'll talk about later, and sort of you get a lot more of the style of Main Street here. The large amber statues along the side, sort of sculptures or just decoration of the amber, and a lot of the real tropical feel of the structures as well.
It definitely, though, does at the same time feel kind of like Main Street USA at the Disneyland park in California, where you basically just have this big giant shopping row, things like ice cream shops and Disney store and stuff like that in the Disney area, you know. And it almost kind of also evokes the idea of a seaside boardwalk that are very popular in, say, Coney Island or San Francisco or some of the Santa Monica Pier, I think, in California.
Yeah, Santa Monica. Yep. Well, we do know, we don't see a lot of it, but we do know from aerials and that the Main Street goes down to the lagoon and goes either way along that boardwalk. So you got the Pteranodon Theatre and that there as well. That we sort of see more in Lost World, in Fallen Kingdom as well, all destroyed. But as you're saying, like looking like a Disney main shopping strip and that, there's one building here that's got one of those big double-sided clocks hanging off the side of the awning. Sort of 2015, we've still got an analog clock hanging up on the side of the building because no one's wearing watches.
Well, at the same time, I mean, it's supposed to kind of go for that feel, you know? It's basically meant to go for this city block feel of shopping center.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And you mentioned before, coming into the shot of the Innovation Centre here with that big mountain range behind it, I think it looks pretty cool. But just sort of nature towering over this little pitiful thing that man has set up. But as the camera approaches the Innovation Centre, we can sort of hear Gray and Zach dialogue coming as they're climbing up the stairs of the building. Very similar architecture here with the front of the Innovation Centre of what we got with the original Visitor Centre. Just the two sort of wings that go left and right of the main staircase. Fountains here and not so much water features like we had originally. But the stairs going up to the front doors.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, it is very reminiscent of the original Visitor Center in the Facade. Not so much the design, but yeah. And I think it's interesting how the Innovation Center itself, it almost has a volcanic look to it. And I think I remember seeing some of the concept art or posters or something, and it showed that the skylight at the very tip had a light. I can't remember if that's in the original, or if it's in the final movie or not, when we get that night scene, but it was supposed to have this Vegas style. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that pyramid in Vegas with the gigantic light bulbs on the top that basically shine a giant light beam into the sky. But it's supposed to be like that.
The name of it's on the tip of my tongue too.
It's I think this not the Sphinx.
I was going to say Montecito, but that's the TV one.
No.
Oh, while you're looking at that, yeah, well, it was the that original teaser poster we got had the with the Raptor on the Explorer had the sort of triangular or pyramidal even innovation center with the beam going up, and I remember seeing a nighttime concept art with the white or blue light going up into the air as well.
Luxor, that was it. The Luxor Hotel.
That's it. Yeah. Whether that was some sort of night display, you can only imagine that there'd be something like that, especially the nightlife, the bars and the restaurants and that there. There'd be some sort of laser light show or something. I don't think they'd have fireworks. I don't know how the animals would like fireworks going off for the 4th of July or New Year's parties or anything like that. Although that could be an interesting little short story. The first year they decided to do that, and the animals went nuts. Gray is the first one to the doors. Zach tells him to just chill while he's on his phone. We cut to the inside as the doors they open by the boys, side by side. These are big wooden doors. You'd think they'd be automated. Well, they might be gas struts on them to allow guest Santa.
I imagine that they're made to look like wood and brass inlay, but they actually aren't, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're probably made out of some kind of lightweight material, and they're swung on like a 0G hinge and they're just painted to look the way they do, you know?
Yeah. Well, they're sort of similar design to the visitor centre again here, just your dual opening barnyard doors type stuff. But as you said, all the sort of imprints or sculpting work on it with the Tyrannosaurus skeletons and that looks really nice. And there's two park staff here beside the doors too. Maybe they're there for the elderly or younger kids or something, help them inside, or just there to help out wherever needed. But as the minute ends, we see a pair of glass doors inside slide open, revealing the Hammond Creation Lab sign on the far end of the building and the Innovation Centre interior. These glass sliding doors, interesting, sort of got the not DNA like the sequences, but more so what you'd have like your DNA printout. Not your CDC, all that sort of lettering, but the I've got no idea what that's called.
It was funny. I'm looking at this scene and seeing just all this technology in this thing here. You can see the Hammond Creation Lab, and in front of it's a holographic Apatosaurus and all that stuff. And I think back to the original Jurassic Park, and Lex is absolutely blown away by a touchscreen and a CD-ROM.
Well, yeah, we're going to definitely get to that next minute with some of the interactive displays in here, and whether or not the film's going to age as well with the holograms and that in 10, 15 years' time, if we have that tech, or just going back to Jurassic Park with innovative CD-ROM with the Linux system, I know this, and even sort of Nedry talking up, you can run the whole park with minimum staff for 3 days. How much some of the technology there hasn't really... We're still trying to get electric cars figured out. No, the Explorers.
Those ran on a track, so it's not like they had anywhere to go. They're basically a